YouTubers. My name is Keith Stanley. I'm the SOHI District Manager for the SOHI District of Main Street Milwaukee program on North 27th Street. Today I'm joined with a very special guest here at District 3. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Carah Helwig. I work for the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office. I'm the Community Prosecutor assigned to District 3.
Okay, Carah, I'm glad you could join us today. We're here at District 3, and so you can see the scene behind us. Carah, I wanted to set up this interview to talk about the Community Prosecution Unit, because I know how important it is to the community, specifically to the SOHI District. Can you explain what is the CPU? What is the Community Prosecution Unit?
Well, it's composed of 7 district attorneys in each of the 7 police districts. We also have 2 assistant DAs that will be assigned to Milwaukee Public Schools. It's one of the cornerstones of John Chisholm's administration of the DA's office. And basically,
he recently, he was appointed or elected into that office.
He was recently elected, and he's running unopposed in November.
Oh, okay, that's really good. Really good. So you won't have to worry about running again.
Get to keep it
yeah. And so now this was would this be considered his baby, or was it started previously before John Chisholm's being elected into the office?
It was started before him. It was started in the early 2000s, and has since been expanded significantly under John's administration, and it is one of his main priorities in the office.
Okay, now what is the CPU, and how does it relate to a common resident?
Well, as I said, there is an assistant district attorney assigned to each one of the 7 Milwaukee City Police districts. We go to community meetings, we charge cases out of the district, we work with business owners, we work with landlords, we work with all sorts of city groups like the Department of Neighborhood Services. We also work with the utility companies, and we do work with residents to address some of the concerns that they bring to us with regard to problems that they see in their neighborhoods.
So, Carah, what is the authority for assistant district attorney?
I'm able to charge state cases. I'm able to work with our unit in meeting with landlords, holding them accountable. I work with the Department of Neighborhood Services, as well as other community groups and utility companies. But primarily, as an assistant district attorney generally, we represent the state and the county of Milwaukee in criminal court on criminal matters, both misdemeanor and
a little bit of both.
That's correct, especially our anti-gang unit that covers a lot of area that fortunately is outside of SOHI's district. They are very good at identifying gang members. They'll bring cases to me involving gang members, and I'll handle those personally because of the nature of those crimes. It might seem like a minor type of criminal behavior, but it's a gang member, and so we treat that a little differently depending on what we believe the threat might be in the community. If some of them are allowed to keep dealing drugs or keep carrying firearms, things like that. But fortunately, like I said, that isn't a huge issue in SOHI's district.
Really good. And for those who don't know, the SOHI district is located between Highland and St. Paul on 27th Street. But I work closely with John Conley and working with your office as far as with hotspot forums and things of that nature. Could you explain to our viewers here, YouTube viewers, what are hotspot forums and how could they potentially help out your office or your job?
Well, hotspot forums are a way for John and myself to know what the problems are in the community, and they can range from anything from trash and debris in yards, weeds that are getting too high, graffiti on the walls, prostitution, drug activity, basically anything that disrupts the quality of life in the neighborhood. And as I said earlier, even if it's something that I personally can't address, we can make references to the Department of Neighborhood Services, the Department of Public Works, things like that, so that these concerns can be addressed. And I think that there are 2 important components here. The first is for community members to be constantly vigilant about what's going on in their neighborhoods. Unfortunately, it's not something that I as a prosecutor or that the police department can do by themselves. It's really, really important for people to know what's going on in their neighborhoods and to tell us what's going on, because in working in partnership with each other, that's the way that we can best address some of these problems. That's correct, and there are ways that we can use those to our advantage. Every phone call that's made to 911 or the non-emergency number goes into the system. And if we determine that certain properties that are chronically using these police services, we call them nuisance properties, and we're able to use those phone calls to hold these people accountable for the services they're draining from the city. But in addition, We give our cell phones out to community members, my cell phone number. Two of the officers I work with also provide their contact information. And I always tell them, a lot of times we'll be in that neighborhood just rolling around and checking the neighborhood and patrolling for problems. And if we're there and you see something and you call us and we're right there, we can get over there immediately. Whereas if you call for a regular squad, it might take longer. But I always tell people, you know, we have a lot of addresses, we have a lot on our plate a lot of the time, and keep bothering.
Let's say the hotspot forms are in and the phone calls are made. What is the next step on behalf of the Assistant District Attorney as far as addressing those issues?
Well, and that's where John Conley, the staff assistant, comes in. If it's something like trash, debris, graffiti, weeds, a lot of times we'll make referrals to the Department of Neighborhood Services to address those problems. And people can get cited for not complying with DNS requests to mow your lawn or to clean up the trash on your property. And certainly no one wants to pay a hefty fine for failing to mow their lawn. And
just to let you, this is Main Street supporters, you know, the SOHI district, we work closely with John Conley and Carah Helwig on that. And we have about 99 open code violations in the SOHI district. And we make sure to detail whether it's graffiti, whether it's signage. If there's a code violation, we're going to make sure people are, that the right appropriate offices and administration is notified of that. So I just want to throw that in there. And if you're interested to see more information on that, please contact me. I can get that information out to you. So depending on the nature of the problem, John may handle it. Let's say we have a known prostitute, a known drug dealer. How is that handled?
Well, that's handled a little differently. Obviously, there are certain tools that we have to use to build a criminal case against someone. It does put that person on our radar. And with that, I would ask people to be patient, because a lot of times there are things going on that we can't talk about, that they may not know about. It doesn't mean that we're ignoring the problem. It means that we're trying to go about it in a way where we can actually solve the problem permanently, rather than putting a temporary stopgap in what's a chronic problem. And with regard to the prostitution and drug dealing that's going on in the area, the good thing is it appears that some of that activity has subsided. Whether that means they've spread out from Wells Street to other streets, or whether they've actually moved to other parts of the city, that's one thing. They could be engaging in more covert activities. You know, maybe they're not out on the street, they might be in their houses. But I can tell you, when we're on Wells Street in Wisconsin, my police officers know who's supposed to be there and who isn't. You know, they know who to recognize, they know who they don't recognize, they know they're chronic prostitutes, they know they're chronic drug users and drug dealers. And they do their best to combat their behavior. Obviously, when it comes to things like prostitution, to build a state case for a prostitute, you have to have certain elements of the crime before you can charge it. And in that regard, sometimes we do undercover stings in certain parts of the city. We send out undercover officers both as Johns and as prostitutes to try to catch people that are engaging in that activity. But it's still a problem.
Carah, I have to ask you, and this is something that was in the paper and actually in the news a few days, maybe weeks ago. There was a lady, I believe, in Plymouth or some northern county in Wisconsin, who was actually banned from that county or even banned from that city for, I guess, illegal, having engaged in sexual activity with a minor. And she was actually banned for 15 years she couldn't come back to that county. Could we apply that type of tool within the SOHI district and with other communities where we have known criminals who, you know, we want to ban them from the area because we know that they do no good to be in the district or within the city of Milwaukee?
And that is something that we're considering. I know that at one point my office, the district attorney's office, did have an injunction against numerous known prostitutes. I would say between 40 and 50. And I believe the city attorney's office is looking into whether or not an injunction would be feasible in SOHI. Because as you know, there are many people that we all know are there for only one reason, and they don't really have an address in that neighborhood. They just happen to be there. They could be living in an abandoned apartment. They could be sleeping on the streets. And we're trying to use the tools that we can in the legal system we have to address that problem.